Hello everyone, this is Dr. Shelley Plumb and I'd like to welcome you all back to From the Hip. I am here today with Eric Romano with Romano Law Group. How are you, Eric?
Doing just fine, thank you.
You know what, we're here today to talk about some unusual things that are in the litigation field, and you were telling me just a moment ago about a unique case of a ailment that a youngster got. Can you share with our viewers what you were talking about?
I will. It's a very sad and tragic case, obviously, but several years ago we represented the families of two young boys who died after playing in a splash fountain park after they became infected with the Naegleria Fowleri amoeba, which is found in warm fresh water.
I have not heard of that before. Can you repronounce that name for our viewers?
Sure. It's the Naegleria Fowleri amoeba, which is found in warm, fresh water. Very, very common here in Florida and other southern states where the temperatures often allow the water to get up to 79 degrees or higher.
Okay, so is it safe to say that you're saying this is fairly prevalent in Florida? Probably not just Florida. Any place that has standing fresh water that has warmer temperatures is fair game for this amoeba.
It is, and I know cases have been reported in Texas, in Arizona, in Oklahoma, Georgia. So much of the southern United States is at risk of this just because of the warm temperatures.
I see. So I'm in the medical community, and I am shocked that I have not heard about this, and there are people out there that may have. Why is this not more talked about?
You don't hear it as often because, thankfully, the number of reported incidents in which people have been infected and died as a result of exposure to this amoeba are relatively small. Okay. Going over the last 40 years, the number of deaths attributed to this amoeba is a little over 200.
Okay.
So, in the big picture, not a huge number of deaths, so you don't hear about it often, but of course, you've got this amoeba that is very, very common. It's present in probably every warm, freshwater body of water throughout the state of Florida.
Right.
It just, thankfully, doesn't actually get into the body of that many people. Okay,
so I know you were talking about how it gets into the body, and I know you were earlier talking about a case of a youngster that was playing in water, and it got in through the nasal passages. Am I correct in saying that?
That's correct.
So can you walk through the symptoms with our viewers? What did this particular little one start out with symptoms of what?
Well, it starts out mimicking the symptoms of the common cold. So with both of these young boys, by the way, one was 4 and one was 8.
Okay, so they were young.
Right. The first 5 or 6 days, it looks to mom and dad like they just have a cold. They've got a runny nose, they're sniffling, maybe some sneezing, fever a little bit, temperature spikes.
Right.
And by the time you reach about day 7 or 8, then they start with hallucinations.
Okay.
They start with the really cold sweats, shivering, and that's when the real danger becomes apparent.
As a parent, that's probably when you recognize it, when it's starting to get out of hand like that. So it goes in through the nasal passages, but what happens to it? Where does it go?
Well, it goes right through the nasal cavity straight into the brain. Its common name is the brain-eating amoeba, which is a lot easier to pronounce than Naegleria Fowleri. But it gets into the brain and causes a combination of meningitis and encephalitis. The actual condition it causes is primary amoebic meningoencephalitis. Okay. And it is fatal more than 95% of the time. So in other words, if it gets into your nasal cavity, there is very, very slim chance of surviving.
Is that right? So what are the treatments for something like that?
Well, there really is no known treatment.
Is that right?
Because typically once it gets into your system, it is too late.
Oh, I understand. So let's flip that around because I'm a mother. I know that you have children as well. How do we protect ourselves and our children from that?
A few things you can do. First of all, it starts with prevention.
Yes.
Educate yourself, your family, and especially your children to make sure that they are not swimming or going underwater in lakes, rivers, canals here in Florida. Okay. A mountain lake up in New England might be okay. A lake or canal here in South Florida is not, especially during the summer months. If they are going to go into that kind of a water or waterway, they should wear nose plugs.
Okay.
Or if they're jumping in or even splashing around, wear nose plugs, cover up their nose. And the other thing to keep in mind is it's not just limited to bodies of water. The cases in which I first became familiar with this happened in which both boys were at a park playing in a fountain, one of these splash pad fountain play areas.
Is that right? So they weren't even swimming. It was one of those fountains we
Right.
commonly see in Florida.
Right, and what they were doing was just standing over the fountains and letting the water splash up and hit them in the face.
Okay.
And the pressure coming up was enough to force the water up into the nasal cavity. That's how they became infected.
I see. Okay. Well, you know what, and that's the one thing I love about your law group is you're about awareness and education. Are you getting the message out to young parents out there?
Well, I certainly hope so. As somebody that grew up here swimming in the lakes and canals of
Yes.
South Florida myself, it's something I never knew about, something my parents never knew about. So I didn't learn about this until I had the misfortune of representing
Right.
this family, these two families that suffered tragedy as a result. But as a result of what I learned in the process, we are now making an effort to inform the public and let other families know about this danger so that it doesn't happen to anybody else.
Right, and that's so incredibly important. So for viewers out there that are listening to our conversation and want to know more about this or any other legal matter, where would you point them?
You can visit my website, www.romanolawgroup.com. We do have some information on there about this particular amoeba, and from there, I can certainly point you to other resources.
Perfect. Thank you for joining me.
All right, thank you very much.